Hello and welcome. Today we'll be going over how to set up your WISPR Ranger drone, as well as its payload, which will be the Hesai XT-32 LiDAR sensor. First, you're going to want to open the hard case. Inside will contain the drone, its legs to stand on, batteries, the charger, and a few other components. Fasten the legs to the frame of the drone with the threaded couplers. Do make sure these are on tight. This is what's going to keep the legs from falling off. Once the legs are attached and fastened, you can now take the drone out of the box. I recommend setting it on the case with the lid closed. That way it makes it for the setup easier. Next, you'll need to undo the Velcro straps that hold each of the drone's arms into place. After you undo the Velcro and fully extend the drone arms, you'll need to make sure you lock the arms at full extension. Next, you'll need to make sure you attach the radio antennas to the drone. These are held on by a very high-grade, strong Velcro. However, give them a double check to make sure they're secured. You're going to manually open the props, and then right afterward, give them a quick inspection. Make sure there's no bends, cracks, or nicks in the props. Now that the drone is fully assembled, props are inspected, everything's good to go, we're ready to attach the LiDAR sensor itself. You're going to notice that it's held in with a dovetailed joint. You'll slide it into place while also pressing in that red button that's located on the drone. Then you'll fasten it down with a screw. Please do your best to remember to take off the LiDAR sensor hood as well as the lens cap. In the case, you're going to see what looks like a salt and pepper shaker. This is the RTK antenna. This screws onto the very top of the drone. Now twist the GNSS cable. This is what's going from that salt and pepper shaker straight into your LiDAR sensor. Also, you'll need to attach the Wi-Fi antenna. This is labeled Wi-Fi, only use the metal USBs. These flash drives are formatted directly for this sensor. Plug in your power cable. This will go into the LiDAR sensor and the drone before the battery is plugged in. If your flight requires more than one battery, you're going to need to use the hot swap adapter as well. Before plugging your batteries into the drone, it's always best procedures to check the battery first before you even put it in. The battery will slide into the back of the drone, so wherever you can take the battery out, this will help you designate the rear of the drone. Now that the drone and the LiDAR sensor are fully assembled, we're going to have to do a checklist because there's a lot going on here. We have the RTK antenna, the GPS antenna, the 360 optical avoidance, brushless motors, props, both sets of legs, the camera lens taken off, the LiDAR sensor's hood taken off, the Wi-Fi antenna, the GNSS cable, the metal USB, and finally the radio antennas. There's a lot of components to this drone and the sensor, so it's good to always double check. Now let's cone off our takeoff and landing zone and prepare our flight path. Something to always keep in mind with our flight is right after our figure 8, we should be trying to find our nearest approach to the job. Looking at our animation here, we can see the figure 8 is almost right at the beginning of our scope. Really important thing to note here, as well as making sure that our turns are also outside of the scope. If turns are inside the scope, wherever your drone makes those left or right 90-degree turns, that is actual unusable data. So we have to be diligent to make sure that our turns are outside of our scopes. Once your first flight is completed, we're then going to do what we call a cross tie. This flight pattern is going to be a minimum of one flight lines that go perpendicular to your flight 1. When performing our cross ties, we really have one of two options. If there's not enough battery to fly it over and do that cross tie yourself, then you need to land the drone, do a hot swap, and then perform. If there is enough, simply fly it outside of the scope and then do your perpendicular cross tie and then return to launch. Now to turn on the LiDAR sensor, you're going to see a little square button. Simply press it once and you should see the lights turn on. Now you're going to connect to the sensor's Wi-Fi, and then you're going to go to its IP address just like you would anything else in your browser. Once you type in its IP address in your browser, it's automatically going to bring you to this page right here. This is the first thing you're going to see, and you should already see these corrections. Your ACC, X, Y, and Z already having some corrections going on. As we scroll down, we'll see long Latin altitude, heading pitch roll, GNSS solutions. As we scroll down, we get to the portion that lets us change the project name. Make sure it goes by your project's name and job number, and then hit save. After you've saved the correct project name, you're now going to scroll all the way down and you simply hit start. Once you hit start, the sensor is now turned on and the camera shutters will start to click every 2 seconds. You need to wait a minimum of 30 seconds though before you take the drone off. Another way to think of it is just wait for 15 shutter clicks. Once those 15 shutter clicks have gone off, now it's time for takeoff. While the drone is in the air, you and your VO will need to keep an eye out for not just the drone, but other hazards as well. These may include birds, other aircrafts, or even structures you weren't aware of before showing up on site. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped with your WISPR Ranger XT-32 LiDAR sensor. Remember, this video is only for reference and not meant to be a tell-all. Thank you, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.